Σήμερα μαζί μας έχουμε ένα καλεσμένο ο οποίος έρχεται από την Αμερική. Το όνομά του Blake Anderson. Γιατί πρέπει να τον ακούσεις? Γιατί είναι μόλις 24 ετών και έχει καταφέρει, χωρίς τεχνικό background, να εκμεταλλευτεί τη τεχνολογία της τεχνητής νοημοσύνης και με το ChatGPT να δημιουργήσει όχι μία, ούτε δύο, αλλά 3 mobile εφαρμογές που έχουν σπάσει ρεκόρ η μία μετά την άλλη. Μαζί με τον Zack Yadegari, τον 18χρονο co-founder, ναι καλά άκουσες 18χρονο, έχουν δημιουργήσει την τελευταία επιτυχημένη εφαρμογή, το AI, όπου συζητιέται σε όλα τα αμερικάνικα δημοσιογραφικά μέσα και έχουν καταφέρει να κάνουν σε ένα μήνα $2 εκατομμύρια σε πωλήσεις και να πάνε για 30 εκατομμύρια σε ένα χρόνο.
In our first month we did 100,000 revenue, second month 200,000 revenue, and then we exploded 700,000 in revenue our third month. I was like, AI calorie tracker, that's what we should build together. AI started to succeed. We're going to do over $30 million in 2025 in revenue. The reason that we exploded so much was because it was organic content that went really viral. Now, the big question here is how do you make it so viral? I think that
Tόσκα.
Πορτάλιο.
We have a guest today, and as you can understand, the guest doesn't speak Greek, so that's why we are speaking in English. This is a guest I really admire, and do you want to do an intro for him?
So he came from US. He flew here. I just texted him when I saw the story that he was in Greece. We told him like, come to the pod, man. We really love your journey. You are going to inspire a lot of people. Actually, like 1 month before, we were talking about his app, AI. So today with us is like Blake Anderson. He is the co-founder of AI, a $30 million ARR like app that has been going viral to US. Welcome, Blake. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me, and thank you for adapting the format of this podcast to English for today.
Yeah. It's you're an amazing guest. Like I'm really honored to have you here. And it was like we didn't expect that because we had an episode that we were talking about AI, about your business basically, and we talked about you, and it was a really nice thing for you to come to our podcast. So thank you again.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I was telling you guys earlier, when you guys reached out to me, I went through your page and started scrolling through to watch some of the podcasts. And I saw a video, had my thumbnail on it. I went to watch it. I couldn't understand any of it, obviously, because I do not speak Greek. But as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh man, I gotta come speak to them. And once again, it's amazing to be here.
Yes. So to give you some context, what we are actually talking to this podcast, we're talking about business ideas like dropshipping agencies, whatever is cool in US, we bring it to Greek. Like Greeks to implement either like in US or here in our country. So that's why we were talking about like AI. So having you here talk us directly about AI, it's something huge. And we got a lot of messages when we did the episode about people that they know you, Zack, and they are trying to build like mobile apps, AI mobile apps. So let's start from, because like you are just 24 years old, you talk and you look like more mature, I would say. So where did you start on this? Like how did you got in AI mobile apps? Because I know that you didn't have any background to coding. So how did you start?
Yeah, I think that my journey really starts from when I was a child. I was always fascinated by and in love with entrepreneurship. I wrote an ebook titled How to Make Money as a Kid when I was 9 years old. It was like, here's how to operate a profitable lemonade stand, and here's how to start a lawn mowing business, because I would mow lawns for my neighbors. And that evolved into selling candy in school and drop shipping and scaling Instagram meme pages, building an Ethereum mining machine, everything under the sun. And I think that for me, a big component of my journey has always just been following my curiosities. Whatever I see that interests me, try it out, see whether or not it works. If it doesn't work out, move on. So kind of continue that journey, but never really had anything that was all that successful. My senior year of college, I built a college marketplace app. Now, I didn't code it. but we had someone technical on the team that did. And this is like a very classic people's first time building apps. They build social apps. They think about what's a problem that I and my friends experience, and now how do I solve this problem for all of us? That often manifests itself in some social function. So for us, this was an app to buy and sell items with other students on your university campus. By the end of my senior year, it was like doing okay, but wasn't making any money and was really hard to scale. ChatGPT had come out just a few months prior. So this is spring of 2023. And I'm like, man, I use ChatGPT for all these new things. But I feel like it hasn't been packaged into easy consumer experiences. And so I had a roommate that was always messaging girls on dating apps. And he one time was asking me what he should say to this girl. And I'm like, I figure that ChatGPT could give a pretty good answer here. So I take his transcript, I manually type the messages into ChatGPT. The response is like, okay. I start playing around with some different prompt engineering techniques. And suddenly I was like, man, this is a viable product. Everyone uses dating apps on their phone. Okay, so I figured that I would build an app where you can take a screenshot from the dating apps on your phone and then keep that on your phone, paste it into this sort of AI consumer product and get the response. And so this led to the advent of RizGPT. We launched that in July 2023, and within like a week, we exploded. In like 3 days, we went from 0 to 83,000 in MRR. So yeah, I guess that's kind of how my story of how I got into AI apps.
Yeah, that's really cool. But the thing is that, first of all, what I would like to ask is, you didn't make any money using all the other ventures that you had in the past. I know, like you were really young, but you did a lot of things before that.
I had made a number of $100 to up to like $20,000 at a time on these different other ventures, but I never built a sustainable business, nor did I make really life-changing cash. The money that I would make would go to paying for my own expenses. So nothing that really reshaped my life as a whole.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. So the thing with Riz, I don't understand how you launch, and from launch you go and you make it a hit, because it actually seems really difficult to do. I see so many apps that try to do like a rap to ChatGPT, and they actually have no users. So how did you actually manage to get all these users? That's the amazing part.
Yeah, so I would dive into like the specific social media strategy, but I think that people are generally aware of that now. Influencer promos, UGC, right? People understand this. The reason that we exploded so much was because it was organic content that went really viral. Now, the big question here is, how do you make it so viral? I think that one of the major benefits that my companies and my apps have benefited from have been being essentially first to market. When we launched RizGPT on TikTok, no one had ever really heard of this. People were like somewhat familiar with ChatGPT, and yet it was still this new kind of like unexplored thing. And then when we launched it, everyone's like, holy shit, wait, what? You can have AI tell you what to say on dating apps? It was just inherently so viral. Umax was similar. So Umax was the second app that I built, where you can take a picture of your face. It will tell you how attractive you are and how you could become more attractive. When we launched that, everybody is like, what the fuck? AI is now rating me and telling me if I'm cooked or not, right? And so I think that, once again, what my products have really benefited from are taking these core human sort of insecurities or desires and orienting a product around that, as opposed to figuring out some sort of like over-intellectualized use case thing that you're solving and then asking yourself how to make that viral. I find that is a much, much harder task.
Yeah. Do you actually have any ideas that can actually go viral right now, or do you think it's too late for a simple need ChatGPT wrapper to come and scale as much as Reese or your other businesses did?
I certainly don't think it's too late. I think that it is getting harder and harder. Mm-hmm. Okay, so what do I mean by this? I've got a few takes here. One, I think that there will have been more one-function viral AI apps that scale to millions a year in revenue built in 2024 than will be built in 2025. I think that most of the super simple, super obvious use cases have been solved. The lowest hanging fruit. AI to talk to girls for you. AI to rate your face. AI to track calories for you, right? Those are the 3 products that I've built. But there's still so much opportunity. For example, nowadays, let's look at one of the most recent super viral AI products, Cluely. Are you guys familiar with Cluely? So this is Roy Lee, a good friend of mine. Roy built a product that is essentially hidden on your laptop that will help you cheat on interviews. This is it's not nearly as simple as the products that I've built. It's much more complicated, and yet it's extremely viral, and they're doing extremely well right now. And so I think that there's still a lot of opportunity in this space. The alpha is becoming harder to capture.
So, because like our audience, it's not they don't know, they cannot really understand many of the things that you take it as like, for example, you said about ChatGPT, we launched it and we went viral. So you had some skills of how to get something viral on TikTok, for example. Mm-hmm. So this is like a skill that you learned from the other ventures that you had, right? Like to reach out to influencers, to convince them, because like a lot of times we see, like, because we work with e-commerce brands, they want to work with some influencer and they get rejected, for example. They don't want, or the price is like on the roof. So you did something well there as well. It's not only the product, which was really like unique and first to the market, but you did also something really good with like taking this thing viral, the partnerships. Do you have any tips around like this, for example?
I take a ton of shots. Like I see oftentimes people will reach out to a few influencers and they're like, these are the influencers that I need to work with. And they get so caught up on working with those influencers that they forget about the hundreds and thousands of others that would also form great partnerships. So if you're not DMing hundreds of influencers per day and you're asking yourself why you can't set up partnerships, you're not taking enough shots. Now, if you find that it's the case that maybe you are targeting a $5 CPM on average, so you don't want to pay more than $5 for every 1,000 views. And every single influencer that you reach out to, it says $20 per 1,000 views. Now, I usually pay on a flat rate basis, but we have minimum view clauses where we're like, we'll pay you $10,000 with the expectation that you generate at least 2 million views, right? Some niches are just way more expensive. Ed tech is up there. It's expensive. Fintech is, financial influencers or creators are the most expensive. You can see CPMs there ranging from $50 plus, so over $50 per 1,000 views. You also have to examine view quality. So taking this all into account, like what would my recommendations be? Take more shots, find niches that are not too expensive, and don't get caught up if you can't get deals done with individuals. If you just keep firing, reaching out to every single creator that you can find whose audience has an overlap with your target demographic, then you'll figure out whether or not influencer marketing will work on your app. If your app isn't inherently viral, it's going to be an uphill battle because you're relying on these organic sort of recommendation engines or social media algorithms. So And if anything that I just kind of explained there to anybody who's listening, if anything I just explained doesn't make sense, then you need to kind of go back to the basics and you need to study this industry more deeply before you ask yourself why it isn't working for you.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, of course, that's something really, really important. We always forget that, and we talk technical a lot without taking into account like who is the listener, which is like a really bad thing. So, how did you actually figure out the number, the cost per and the CPM that you are going to actually pay, and that the economics can actually work? Because the problem, because we help e-commerce brands scale and other businesses using an ad, so we track everything. So it's very easy for us to actually scale an ad. If it goes well, then we can actually scale more. But in your type of organic growth, which is something that I'm not an expert at, it's very hard to actually track. So how did you actually make the economics work for you? How did you actually make that work?
You're right. It is way harder to track. And I think that that's one of the reasons that there is so much opportunity. If it was easy, everybody would do it, right? And so to your point, when you're working with the platform, so you're doing platform ads, Meta, Google, TikTok, whatever it may be, they provide all these values, just very clear, labeled in a row for you. The cost per 1,000 views, cost per conversion, whatever it may be. Now, when you're doing organic, you don't have the same level of insights. So what we've set up are essentially like automated spreadsheets where we can input video links, we track the views, we track the number of likes, the engagement over time, and then we kind of map that to the downloads that we're seeing. To anyone who's getting started, you don't need to do all of that. You should just have an intuitive understanding of you make a video or you pay someone to make a video and you go look at the views over time and you go look at your downloads over time and the conversions. And over time, you will start to develop an intuitive understanding of what hooks work best, what sort of creators convert best, that sort of thing. What I often say is I think that being really good at social media marketing and scaling organic campaigns comes down to a deep understanding of statistics and psychology. You need the psychology to understand what hooks are going to resonate with people, what sort of messaging to use, how to like actually negotiate with the creators themselves, and then the statistics to be able to make inferences about what converts and what does well, and then you lean into the sort of creators, the sort of hooks that convert well, and scale up from there.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's really cool. I know that I'm about to ask for a shortcut, but
Let's hear it. Always down for it.
Because it's a lot of work to actually go and hire, like send hundreds of messages to you influencers. So I was wondering, the first question is there any, with your intuition that you have built over the years, have you actually find like what is the follow count or the engagement rate or something that really gives you the best value for money, let's say, the best
comment sections. That's it. That's the hack. It's comment sections. At first, early in social media in like the 2010s, it was all about followers. How many followers do you have? And then it started to shift to how many views are you getting? As the algorithms became more optimized for high quality content, as opposed to just seeing, posts from people that you follow, it became all about content quality. Now, what I index for within my companies is what creators have really engaged comment sections. Because it's very easy to create a video that's 6 seconds long, gets a few 100,000 views and does not convert at all. Because people are just like kind of interested in the content. Maybe it's aesthetic, maybe people want to like it, whatever. But to have an engaged comment section usually implies at least one of two things. One, the creator has a very deep, dedicated fan base, and people that have that sort of trust with their audience are going to convert better. The audience trusts them, they promote the product, the audience purchases the product. And then two, which is that the content itself is informative, engaging, whatever it may be. It's leading people to take the time out of their day, not just to like it, not just to view it a couple of times, but to go into the comment section and leave a thoughtful reply. And so what we really look for are comment sections that it's not just number of comments, it's not just a bunch of fire emojis, it's people responding with insights, or maybe they're applauding the person that posted whatever they did, whatever it may be. If a creator's comment section looks like that, that is generally a great creator to work with.
Yes, yeah.
Also, you want to see the top comments should have a good number of likes. If you have a ton of comments, but there aren't any likes on any of the comments, that's not good. You want a community to exist within the comment section and real engagement. And you see that when there are comments with a lot of likes and thoughtful like sub replies and conversations going on within, then you know that piece of content is somewhere where real people come together and engage with one another.
Yeah, that's something that it's actually really smart. I haven't thought about it, but it totally makes sense. It totally makes sense, especially if you want the viewers to actually take an action. Mm-hmm. You don't actually want to have a really viral video just for the sake of having a really viral video.
If they're not willing to go into the comment section and engage there, what makes you think that they are going to go to the product that the creator tags, right? It's not a perfect one-to-one mapping, but it's generally a pretty good. It's a very underrated metric, I would say.
Yeah. And do you actually have a function that you actually calculate how many comments?
Very intuitive.
Okay.
We have basic functions that we use to calculate like median view count, as well as average likes, average comments, that sort of thing. But in terms of getting the more like very deep understanding, it's definitely intuitive.
Yeah. And with the creatives, it's something that I really want to understand. How much of a guidance do you give on the creative? Because I'm assuming you know how to sell your product, but actually the influencer is the expert at going viral. So how do you balance that?
Basic content brief. The content brief that says, these are the different ways that we would integrate the product, or like ideas. These are examples for you. Here are some links to videos that have done well. Maybe we require that you show the product for at least 2 seconds and not after the 15-second mark of the video. So you integrate it early enough within the video and that it's shown for enough time. Maybe you tag us, whatever it may be. You have these like basic stipulations. So these are the ones that we use, but each product and within each niche, you'll find different ones that work best. And then when you start to set up the deal with the creator, you send them over this PDF and it provides a little guide. Then you have them get video approval before they post, so that you have them send it in. As you start to scale up, maybe you don't do that. Maybe you start to trust certain creators, whatever it may be. But yeah, the core lesson here being content briefs. Content briefs with key information, share that PDF to every creator before they begin making videos. It saves them time and it shows that you're professional and that like you don't want to, it saves both parties time. It's a great practice.
Yes. Yeah. And how big it was like your team when you launched and you did like the first 80K month?
3 of us.
3 of us? 3 of you?
Me and 2 co-founders.
And like, what was that going forward? Like, what was your mindset? Why you launched Umax and why you didn't scale even more RiskGPT? Like you thought like, okay, I did it. I know like how to do this. I will build another 10 apps. What was like your mindset?
So with RiskGPT, one of my co-founders and I started going head to head about where we thought the product should go. I had one vision of the app. He had a different vision. He was best friends with the other co-founder. And we were essentially like, we can't really work together anymore. And so we were like, one of us has to leave. And he said, I want you to leave. And I said, okay, fine. So I left. I kept my equity, still on good terms with them. We've since rekindled our friendship. Like, we're great. But I left, kept my equity, and then began building UMax on my own. And so I would have continued working on RizGPT for a little while longer, but yeah, it just, we couldn't work together functionally anymore. And so I began building UMax. And I think in retrospect, I'm really glad that everything went down the way that it did. And like I said, like, we're all on good terms, so there's no bad blood.
And like in UMax, like you built it by yourself, then you brought a team.
So I brought on as like half partners, I guess, kind of like co-founders, but my older brother and Sam Zia. For them both, it was a very part-time project. Sam was an influencer with a lot of followers and a lot of reputation within the looks maxing niche. And then my older brother, he was working a job doing data analytics, and he helped me with some of the back-end engineering. And so Sam and my brother are both co-founders, but the reason I said like half is because for them both, it was kind of a part-time project, whereas for me, it was like the main thing. But then after we began to succeed on launch, so in our first month, we did 100,000 revenue, second month, 200,000 revenue, and then we exploded 700,000 in revenue our third month. And so then that's when they started working on it full time with me.
So for you to actually go, because that growth is really huge, like just for the first month, most businesses actually fail to go to 100K, and you did it in 1 month. So how many creators did you work with for you to get to 100K?
At that time, it was probably like 12.
12?
Maybe less, maybe like 8.
But was really high, like follower count and stuff?
A decent number of views. The thing is that the looks maxing niche was, to what I was saying about the comment sections, it was like the pinnacle. It was such a tight-knit niche community that was also kind of large, and there was no monetization occurring in it. There was nothing, because it was pretty much guys aged like 16 to like 24. And like, it was very new, very, very new niche. And yet it just like took them by storm, so that you have people that were just like obsessed with it out of nowhere. And then when I came in with like one of the first products to really monetize within it, it was just like immediate product market fit. And so this is kind of what I was saying earlier about like, that was a product that like GPT Vision had just been released as well. And so I got like very, very lucky with timing, to be honest with that one. But I mean, I say lucky, but at the same time, I was analyzing all of these different factors. I saw that looks maxing was growing. I have a few different market theses at the time. And then I see that GPT Vision is about to get released. So I built the entire product so that the day that GPT Vision became production ready, I could plug in that URL and submit to the App Store. And I launched, I think you could look at when GPT Vision got released. I think I launched like 2 days after it hit production level API rate limiting. So I was very deliberate.
Yeah, you would be lucky. I would count you as lucky if you did it 1 time, not 3. So yeah, you're not lucky. Like even selecting the idea is a really big part of the process. Like seeing the trajectory and actually saying, okay, I'm going to use this complex new tool to a really fundamental problem that anybody has. It's something that nobody thinks of it. Like it's a really unique idea. Right now, yeah, many people have thought it, but you've thought it first.
Yeah, I think that in times of rapid technological growth and progression, like we're in right now, where there are new AI technologies, new sort of implementations coming out every single week, one of the most important skills, if you want to really capitalize on the alpha, is to pick the right things to work on. Like, it would be a very bad idea in my eyes to devote yourself to something and put on complete blinders for multiple years right now when it doesn't take advantage of the new developments in AI. Now, that it wouldn't always be a bad idea, but I think generally for most individuals, that's probably not a smart way to approach the market as it stands, which is one of the reasons that I have been so quick to move on and work on different things, because I always want to stay at the frontier of new AI technology.
Yeah, that's amazing. And also, it's a question that we actually do at the end of the conversation, but I want to do it right now because you are the expert at that. Like, you have done it multiple times. You have find amazing ideas, and so I was wondering, like, what other opportunities do you actually see in the market that someone can exploit? And I'm telling you that because it's a skill that you have, but it's more like a trait. Not many people have that. So I think that you have really high believability if you say like an opportunity out there. So do you have anything in mind?
Okay, let's first define who am I answering this question for? Is it someone looking to go 0 to 10K? Is it just general opportunity in the market? Is it someone looking to build $1 million business?
Yeah, more like let's go to $1 million business.
Okay.
If you have to 0 to 10K, you can say that as well.
Yeah. So I think that these sort of general advice questions are very interesting, and I really like them, but they're very, very hard to answer. I've recently been thinking more deeply about this, which is like I've myself have given a lot of advice on the internet, and I'm like, man, the advice that I've given is just not applicable the majority of the time. So I want anyone who's listening to take this with a grain of salt. Yeah. Now, that said, okay, 0 to 10K. I so strongly believe that the most important skill right now is to get extremely skilled with AI, different AI tools. So I'll give a real life example of this. I was hiring a designer the other day, or actually a few weeks ago, and I put out a challenge listing on Upwork. And I said, okay, here is a preliminary design challenge. I want you to, for 2 hours of work, everyone got paid for it. I hired 10 different designers to design some logos and do a basic like brand design, whatever it may be. And this one designer produced way more than everyone else, and it was high quality work. And I asked him, I said, how did you get so much done in so little time? And he said, oh, well, I used this new AI tool to generate the icons. He was able to operate so much more efficiently, produce so much more with his time. So I think that that's the fundamental skill that can apply to everything. It applies to design, it applies to copywriting, it applies to development, it applies to marketing, every single domain. So if I'm going to 0 to 10K, I'm getting really skilled with AI. I personally would probably apply it to content creation. I think that to build and generate AI content and understand how to distribute it across every platform right now is a massive skill. If you can generate a few million views a month and you do it for a company, you can very easily make $10,000+ a month. So that is probably what I would pursue. In spite of the fact that we all know that like AI content is a thing and like people are doing it, I don't know many people that are actually doing it really well. So that is on the going from like 0 to 10K a month. So I would do content myself, maybe start like a UGC agency, try to work with different app founders. In terms of making $1 million+, okay, I have another answer here, which isn't specifically for $1 million+. One of the greatest opportunities in the market right now is to help apps optimize app to web. So there was a recent court ruling in the US. Are you guys familiar?
Yes,
Yeah.
with
So with Apple.
Yep. So mobile apps in the United States are now required to allow apps to offer web payments. So Apple takes 30% of your earnings or of your revenue if you make over $1 million a year. If you make under, it's 15%. I and some other people I know have begun testing this, seeing what the relative conversion change looks like. Across the board, it looks like it's going to be at least 20% increase in profit, or excuse me, in proceeds for apps that are above that $1 million mark. And for even apps that are below, you could see like over 20% as well. I'm not going to say the number that the increase that we're seeing, but it's well over 20%. There's so much opportunity here to help apps optimize their web flows. We are already coming up with different strategies, and we have like 10 different things that we want to work on right now, but I'm realizing that it's such an unsolved problem space. So if you start an agency where if you were to come to me right now and say, hey, Blake, I want to do this all for you for free. I have this amount of expertise, or like maybe this is why you should trust me. Maybe you give me a reference and you say, I want to do this for you for free. And then I'm going to use your name to source future clients who will pay me only if I do a good job for you. I would immediately say, great, let's do it. So I think you could very easily scale an agency to like over $50,000 a month of profit doing that. Okay.
Yeah, the agency actually answers like the million, because you can go to $1 million with an agency model.
Certainly, you certainly can. In terms of AI apps, yeah, I mean, people are often asking me, like, what are the new best AI apps to build? You've done it a few times. Like, you must have all the best ideas. And I'm like, man, the market is getting competitive now. It's like, it's no longer a completely unknown area. A lot of people are entering it. There's a lot of competition, but there's the classic sell the pickaxes during the gold rush, or sell shovels during the gold rush, which is that a reliable way to get rich is when there is a gold rush to build one sort of product or make money in one way, be it digging for gold or building AI apps. There are reliable ways to get rich by just servicing those people.
Yeah. We have a friend actually that you can make money both ways. Like if there is a gold rush, you can create a lot of wealth by mining the gold or by selling the shovels. So we have a friend that he was doing launches for other people that they were doing NFTs, for example. Mm-hmm. And he made a ton of money. He made millions doing that. And so, yeah, he was selling shovels. But in my opinion, like we have another friend that in the Amazon era, instead of doing a product, they do a service-based for other Amazon businesses, and they regretted it so much. And so I was wondering, like, do the saying actually works? Because you made the money by the gold rush, not by the shoveling.
So here, yeah.
By the shoveling.
What I would say is that mining for gold is a lower probability that you strike it. Yeah. I think on average, if we look at the number of people that are building AI apps versus the number of people that are going to make life-changing money from it, there are going to be more people as a whole that make a lot of money from AI apps than people that do from servicing those apps. But there's a higher probability of succeeding if you try to be one of the people servicing it as opposed to one of the people building. Yeah. It's also, the whole thing about striking gold is that like, so maybe it's luck, maybe it's whatever. It's generally easier, less grindy, more upside if you're able to get it done. So I'm fortunate that that's kind of where I've been operating. But I mean, hey, listen, it's like some of the biggest companies are the people servicing, right? You could say Cursor, Lovable, right? These new AI dev tools, they're not building they are kind of building AI software, but they aren't building like the AI consumer products. They're helping all the people that want to, and they are going to become massive, already multi-billion-dollar companies as a result of doing it. So I certainly question sometimes whether or not I should be in the servicing field as well. Personally, I enjoy building consumer products. I find it very fun. And I think that that's an important caveat to add here too. With all the recommendations that I've given or that anybody listening hears on the internet of you need to do this and you need to do this. And I think that one of the best strategies is just to do things that you find interesting and enjoyable. because those are the things where you are going to be able to work the most, like put in the most hours, as well as apply the maximum amount of your creative output as a human. So that's honestly how I got into AI apps in the first place, and kind of the general framework or principle that I try to live my life or my professional life by.
Yeah, really nice. I have a question about do you think it makes sense right now for people that they build apps to stay on this and to work on this for long time, for example 1 year, or to try and find a quick hit, which is maybe it's gonna be $5,000 the first month, or yes?
Yeah, it actually ties up. The question ties up with what you said, because how long will you keep shoveling to strike gold and to be lucky? At some point, you have to actually see what and change course.
Yeah, it's really hard to say. Personally, I have worked on 5 different projects in the past 2 years, full time, from RizGPT to UMax to CalAI to Apex to 10x, and some of these projects still endure. I still do some work for UMax, but not much. I still do a good amount of work with CalAI. I moved on from Apex. I moved on from 10x. So, I don't know. This is another one of those pieces of advice where yes. It's so individual. It's so contextual. It's based on who you are as a person. It's based on the product that you're working on. I will say, I think that a lot of people will work on the wrong projects for too long. And on the flip side, a lot of people won't give a project enough time to fully mature before they move on from it. So I would say that you should probably recognize the person that you are, what you have a propensity for, and ask yourself, for example, me, I move on quickly. I often try to ask myself, is it really the right time to move on? Or is this just me wanting new excitement, right? And so you have the classic indie hacker that maybe builds 20 different products a year. And I'm like, all right, that is probably way too fast. But it works out for different types of people. So I don't have a strong stance here.
No, it makes sense what you're saying, because I have seen it depends also on the level of execution. Maybe this 1 year, this person that has an app has done the things that you can do, for example, in 2 months and make a decision. So it really depends on the person, the level of execution, the level that he is, how much money he has on the side, many different things.
It's a complex yes. system. I would say that there are a few universal principles I think that apply. And one, for me at least, is to optimize for learning. Everything that I do, I want to know that I will come out of it with either material success or at the bare minimum that I learned something, that I worked on something that I didn't already know. I think one of the worst things you could do would be to spend time working on projects where if you fail, you don't learn transferable skills or have transferable knowledge. One example here would be day trading. I think day trading is if you succeed, maybe you make some money, but if you don't succeed, you don't really learn many transferable skills that you can take into a different business.
Unless you actually do content and you sell courses around day trading.
Yeah, which
it's transferable. It's transferable.
Yeah, no, it's really good answer. What you said, if you build transferable skills, it makes sense.
Yeah.
For example, and it's a good way to optimize for.
Yeah, but still, there are some things that I can point you to a person that is actually working for a GPT wrapper for 3 years now. You would say, yeah, it's probably shit. He has stuff. So there are some hard fundamentals, some things that you know it's wrong.
Hard to say, I've got a friend, Cliff Weitzman, founder of Speechify. Speechify, Cliff and his brother, co-founders, worked on it for a number of years, not making much money. And so, he could have easily said after 3 years of it's not doing much, and he's like, oh man, I just got to move on. This isn't it. But he stuck with it. And now Speechify makes, I actually don't know if I can say, but it makes a lot more than any of my businesses, right? Actually, I can say this. If you go to Sensor Tower, for example, you can infer that they're making at minimum $50 million a year. But I know that the number is higher than that. So, yeah, they're counterfactuals. And so I try my best not to make bold claims if there are many counterfactuals, which I think there are. So to each his own is kind of how I view it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Completely understand.
And do you think about, do you reverse engineer when you think about ideas, new products, about the distribution channel, for example? Or, for example, okay, this idea, it makes sense. We can do influencer marketing on TikTok. This, we can run it with paid ads. Do you think about it?
100%. You got to, or you don't have to, but it is very helpful to know what your distribution strategy is going into something. People that are engineers, for example, might first think exclusively about whether or not it's technically feasible, right? Does the technology exist? Is it sufficiently widely available to be able to build the product? People who are maybe more growth-oriented might think solely about, does the distribution channel exist? Can I get the customers at a lower price point than they are going to earn me? As with most things, I think that you need to do somewhat of a holistic analysis, which is why I advocate for anybody who seeks to replicate sort of my strategy, is I'm like, you should understand both the marketing and growth side of things as well as the engineering. You don't have to be extremely technical. You don't have to be, extremely TikTok brain rot, super deep in that niche. But you should have sufficient understanding of both to be able to accurately identify and understand the playing field and what tools are at your disposal. So I would say, yes, certainly you should be thinking about whether or not, for example, with paid ads are going to be conducive to very high LTV. So you're probably going to want a higher price point in your product. Maybe it's $20 a month. Maybe it's a free trial and then $100 a year. Organic is usually more conducive to a lower price point. Maybe you do $30 a year. Maybe it's $4 a week. So those are pricing strategies that I've used. So yeah, the distribution channel will inform the sort of product direction and reverse. So it's like a positive feedback loop.
Yes. You have said something like study for product Silicon Valley and study dropshipping for marketing. So that's sums up.
Absolutely. I mean, drop shipping is an industry where you have essentially, or you have minimal product differentiation, and you differentiate on how cheap you can generate the views for your Facebook ad strategy, your organic content strategy. Silicon Valley, on the other hand, they somewhat tend to not ignore, but place relatively much less emphasis on distribution strategy, much more emphasis on product. I think when you can, it's very difficult, but if you can, to some extent, take the best of both worlds, there's a lot of value to be created at that intersect for the sort of individuals in the world of entrepreneurship in which we operate.
Yes. And I was thinking when you launched, I was thinking the timeline that you were launching all these apps, and I was thinking, why to not do like TikTok shop? Everyone was it was like really hot at this period. Why to not go in this direction? Because I'm coming from this e-commerce world about you and like what you actually did. Because TikTok shop, it was all about affiliates and like creator like videos that were doing, they're going viral, and you took like what they were doing for TikTok shop. You did it for your apps. So that's a really smart like way to go. Everyone is going, they are listening about TikTok shop, let's do this. And you take like the strategy of like what they were doing about the products on TikTok shop, you did it for your own products. So
Yeah, it's funny that you say that. Do you know Jimmy Farley?
Jimmy Farley?
Creators Corner?
No.
So Jimmy is like one of the kings of TikTok Shop. He has a community where they have the most successful TikTok Shop creators. Do you know Santa Cruz Medicinals? So Brandon Santa Cruz has one of the most successful TikTok Shop brands where he sells electrolytes and whatnot. And so I had a bunch of these friends in this world that are doing TikTok Shop at the time that I'm building AI apps. The way that I viewed it, I guess, was kind of that this is one of those things where I was really optimizing for learning, not just short-term cash. So I was like, okay, I could, transition and build businesses in the TikTok Shop world, but that seems less interesting to me. I love AI. I think AI is fascinating. I think this upward trajectory of AI is probably good, long-term position for myself. Just try to follow the trend. And I had the apps that were working, and I was like, I'm going to lean into this. And thankfully, I think that it was the right decision. It's very easy to fall victim to shiny object syndrome, to just do whatever the new hot thing is. Once again, this is why I optimize for learning as well as following my curiosities. I think a lot about mimetic desire, or acting mimetically, which is to see what other people are interested in, to say, well, if so many people are interested in that thing, so many people are doing this thing, it's probably a pretty safe bet for me to do that thing as well. I think it's a very dangerous trap to fall into, because then you are generally going to get the same results as everybody else. If you are able to think differently, and if you are able to read between the lines and see the opportunity that most people do not, that is where I think you're going to be able to create the most upside in your own life. So, yeah, I'm a big believer in following your gut, following your curiosity, and so that was what led me down this path. And what's now kind of leading me down the path of AI hardware. I started building different little AI hardware devices with my brother over the course of the past few weeks. So I'm very excited for this. I think this is, I think that there's an insane amount of opportunity in hardware right now. So,
that's great.
We'll see where it takes me, but
yeah, because the area of AI hardware is really fascinating. And I want to explore it a little bit. So, for the people that they don't know, what do you actually mean by AI hardware?
So, what I'm really interested in will be local inference. So, embedding a large language model. You can take an open source large language model. You can put it onto an SD card, so a little storage, and then you can have a processor that is able to compute that independent of your computer, independent of any network connection, whatever it may be. What we're starting with right now is an AI pocket recorder. So we're pretty much just building a tape recorder, or we already built it. We built a tape recorder where we have a tiny little a board. So we use like an ESP32. This hooks up to a little microphone, an SD card to store the audio data. It has Bluetooth on it. We connect it to like a lithium-ion battery. This is nothing new. Pocket recorders have been around for decades. You just press a button and it records your conversations. What we then do is we upload it to a computer where we pull out the transcript or the conversation that it heard, and then we summarize it. This product is not novel. Plod does this. Plod makes multiple $1 million a month. They sell the pocket recorder for $160, whereas the cost of goods here is probably like $25. They sell the subscription for $250 a year, whereas the cost of inference there is like pennies. And so this company is just killing it. Starting here as we get more complex. So the next thing I want to build is an AI smart speaker. So we have a processor, like a Jetson Aura Nano, for example. We could upload a model, like I think Quen 2. Or there's the recent Quen model, I think it is, that's really effective, where you can speak. Let's say that we could have this speaker right now, and we could speak back and forth without having to process this externally through the cloud, right? When you talk to ChatGPT, it's sending it to the OpenAI server and then returning it. And we could carry this speaker around, and it could have 12 hours of battery life. As Moore's law states that transistor density 2x's every 18 months, we also see something similar with LLM performance by model size. And so we're going to be able to embed extremely powerful LLMs into your watch within 18 to 24 months. So these are some basic examples of implementations of AI hardware. One of these projects, or this is an example of a project where the probability that this becomes enterprise for me, where I build a business out of it, is not super high. But worst case scenario, I come out learning a lot of new things. And I think that this is kind of how I've always been, and something that, like, this is a very tangible recommendation that I would make to pretty much everyone, which is that you should have hobbies and you should have fun things or fun intellectual hobbies that you engage in, because you never know how these are going to come back to be able to help you professionally in the future.
Yeah, that's great. You, again, optimizing for learning. So you are doing it actually.
Yeah, I'm not one of these people that's like, you need to do this, and then I'm just like fucking off and like only trying to make money on the back end. I don't know. I don't think that that's like a...
Another pattern that I see through like the apps that you have built is like, because I listen from other people, they are saying like one person business right now, you can easily make it. But I constantly hear from you that the term co-founders. So you bring like a team.
Big advocate for co-founders if you can find the right people.
Like all the businesses, you have done it through co-founders, right? Mm-hmm. Also with Cal AI, you coached like Zack, you brought him in and you did it with him, right? So
Cal AI is a great example. So we actually have 4 co-founders. It began with Zack and Henry came to me and they were like, we've seen the success that you've had with RizGPT and UMax. We started building apps ourselves, but they're doing okay. Zack gave me a list of ideas, and I was like, AI calorie tracker, that's what we should build together. So the structure was I would serve as somewhat of a coach, provide the marketing strategy and capital that I gained through my previous ventures, and Henry and Zack would run the day-to-day. Cal AI started to succeed. We brought in Jake Castillo, who is the chief marketing officer and co-founder, as the 4th team member or 4th co-founder. And since then, it's been amazing. The reason that I'm a big advocate for co-founders is, it's easy to look at Cal AI now and say, okay, we're going to do over $30 million this in 2025 in revenue. To say, well, Blake, theoretically, you could have just given Zack and Henry 10%, and then you would have higher percentage. You could say the same thing to Zack or Henry. You could say you could have just built this and then had the majority and figure out a way to structure it so that other people had less. I think that great co-founders are multipliers on the business. If we had set up the partnership that, so when Zack, Henry, and I started, we did a 3-way equal split. If we had not done an equal split, then it would have decentivized people. Like after the product starts to succeed, maybe if I had less equity, I may have moved on, or Zack may have moved on, or Henry or Jake, or people would have left. I like the analogy, which is it's a lot better to have 50% of a watermelon than 100% of a grape. Yes. So the correct co-founders will enable you to take the business to heights that it previously would not have been able to get. When I first started working with Alex and Evan for RizGPT, if any one of us had tried to do that individually, maybe it makes like 10, 20K a month. Maybe we don't even get the product off the ground to begin with. The fact that the 3 of us were working together and we were able to work together effectively in the early days enabled us to hit 250K a month within the first 3 months. Co-founders can also go bad. I've worked with people before where you spend a lot of time working together and then it just like, it doesn't work out. It's a risk that you take, but when you have pretty high cap on the amount of upside, the big question is not what your share of that upside is, but whether or not you're able to capture it all to begin with. And the correct co-founders will help you capture that.
Yeah, for sure. I completely agree with co-founders. It's really, really important to have that. But also, it's a risky thing to actually do, to give such a high percentage to somebody. So, have you, from Kalei and after, have you actually made other partnerships like this that actually didn't pay off? And this is the first question. The second question that I have is also what is the structure of the partnership? Because many people don't see how it actually works, don't see from internal how the partnership is. So you do the work, or do you consulting and you give some money? And what is the money, the amount of money that you actually agreed?
So I think it's very important to clearly define expectations from the jump. With my first partnership, Alex and Evan, the expectation was that I did the engineering, so I built the app. Alex did the design. Evan did the marketing. Within that, we all actually kind of had a hand in the marketing, and Alex helped a little bit with the engineering, and it was a little bit convoluted, but there were pretty clear expectations about what our responsibilities were. With Kalei, similar. The expectation was that Zack, Henry, and I would be equal co-founders on equity, and that I would not have as much day-to-day involvement, but I would apply the high leverage skills I'd learned from my other products, as well as the capital to get the thing off the ground. Zack helped a bit with engineering, but his main role was growth, marketing, and design, and then Henry with engineering. And that partnership has been amazing. We all have very clear responsibilities within the business, and as a result, we don't often have conflict about who should be doing what. The biggest issues that I've seen and experienced myself are when expectations and roles are not clearly defined. Maybe one person wants to build $1 billion business, the other person wants to build a product that makes $50,000 a month. That is very hard to merge those two realities. Maybe one person is expected to produce something on the engineering side of things, and they don't deliver, right? I've experienced this issue before. So I think clear expectations is the biggest. In terms of finding the right person, super hard. I think that it's generally organic. People that you meet and you develop relationships with, and then over time you realize that you'd be great to work together. When you go out very explicitly trying to find someone as quick as possible, you're not sourcing the highest quality candidates. So that can certainly be an issue.
So after this success that you had, I think you're getting a lot of requests from people that they want to build something,
for sure,
and you to be the advisor. Do you respond to those people, or
I hate networking. I hate speaking to random people, not from a place of superiority, whatever. I don't do a great job juggling a lot of different relationships, and I have a hard time when I create a relationship with someone and then they're like, oh, hey, can you do this favor for me? And blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, man, I kind of want to just be in my own world. I have my small number of people that I'm close with and distance myself from everything outside of that. And so I've started leaning more towards that. I turned off DMs on Twitter. I don't really respond to many people anymore. So I definitely have that inbound, but yeah, I don't have a perfect solution for it. I know a lot of people like to just network with everyone. I think Zack, for example, does a much better job handling a lot of relationships. He's really good at it. I'm not so good at it. So I kind of tried to just keep my peace and avoid everything else.
Yeah.
Great.
So like if someone reaches out and they're like, hey, I'd love for you to be an advisor to blah, blah, blah. If anyone's listening to this thinking, it's not going to be worth your time. I'm not going to do it.
The only thing that I would like to mention about that is I see that over and over. People giving advice. For example, this thing that you have that you don't reply to messages, that you like to be distant. It's not what actually made you successful. But if you are not thoughtful enough, you might give an advice like this to someone. Because, for example, like Zack is not like that, and he's actually as successful as you, for example. What do you think about giving advice? Like, how do you actually give advice based on your personal experience? Because it's a trap.
I love this question. I think that it's a great question. I think that people are very, very complex systems. And that, what I mean by that is that the different things that make up who we are, both our material position, how much money we have, what skills we have, where we live, what languages we speak, as well as like our general affect, what we're interested in, what sort of personality type we have, right? You take all of these variables into account, and it's very hard to create universal principles that apply to everyone. And so throughout this podcast, I've said things and I'm like, oh yeah, but that doesn't really apply to everyone. And like, I don't know whether or not this is actually even good advice. So the way that I view it is the most impactful advice that I've received in life has not come from, so I think that there are a couple of ways to view it. One is like you take in information on the internet, you take in advice that people have about business, about working out, whatever. You test all of it out and you figure out what works for you. That is one framework that's very helpful for me. Second, I think a lot of the most impactful advice that I've received in terms of prescriptive advice from other individuals comes from the really close relationships that I've developed. So different people that I've worked with over time, different people that know me super well, because they are able to understand who I am as a complex system. They're able to take into account all of these variables and help figure out what's going to work for me. If you spend too much time listening to sort of like podcasts and whatnot, which I think are great, they're great to distill information down and they can be enjoyable to listen to. But if you take the advice too literally, you're going to end up following paths and doing things that are that maybe aren't that applicable for you as an individual. So I'll come back to the classic example of like Peter Thiel famously does not give advice. And this isn't because he's not a very intelligent individual and doesn't really understand the world. It's because he understands what I think a lot of people do not, which is that the best advice that an individual can create for themselves, in my opinion, is through their own experience and through those close to them.
Yeah, for sure. And your people around you, they do it subconsciously. They just know better because they have processed you. So the advice that they give you, it's personalized to you. So that's really amazing, and I completely agree.
Yeah, I think we have been doing this for 1 hour now, so thank you very much for coming. Thank you for responding to our inbound.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me. I also want to applaud y'all's conversational ability in English. It was great. I felt like you guys didn't skip a beat, which is awesome.
Thank you.
And I really enjoyed speaking to y'all, and hope that everyone that listened had a good time.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you very much for coming, and it was a pleasure. A really nice conversation. We could have you here for 3 hours more, but we have to wrap up. So, yeah, thank you for coming, and we talk
to the next one.
Okay,
cool.
Have a nice day. Bye.
Ciao.